All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for a Great Teacher Onizuka, episode 43. All right.
Boy.
Yeah,
Wow.
This is the final episode, and we have Onizuka versus the Board of Education of Japan.
Like,
Nani?
you can't get a bigger enemy than this. Like,
Right, they're practically a room full of Gendo Akaris. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do, Onizuka? You have to pull a real miracle here. Otherwise, he's going to have to, step down. In fact, he might even go to prison. He might go to jail or something.
I mean,
like
hey,
that.
but if they wanted to do that, that would be quite the way to end it,
Yeah.
But yeah, so Aizawa is in jail, in a friendly jail, with Onizuka's corrupt cop friend.
Exactly. Yep. His not drug dealing cop friend. Yep.
That's right. That's right. It's not drug dealing if it's actual flour.
Yep.
But the chairwoman is a badass and is
trying to stand up.
to stand up against them, but there's a limit to what she can do.
The vice principal is having a conniption.
Yeah.
Like that they might lose their entire
it's
school.
take years off his life.
Like, well, not only that, he loses his job. Like,
oh yeah, what what few hairs he has left.
Right. Right. But okay.
Unbelievable.
Right. We need Onizuka to pull the biggest Onizuka he's ever done here.
Yep.
So y'all, the final episode of Great Teacher Onizuka. Stay tuned to the end of this episode's reaction and discussion for the announcement for the show that will be replacing Great Teacher Onizuka.
Yes.
I'll give you a hint. It's also a very funny show by reputation.
Yes.
Yeah. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. I just realized that his necklace is kind of like a penis.
Wait.
Look at it.
Love, easy come, easy go.
You'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all tiny.
Yep.
Small and thin.
His balls are big, though. Because he hasn't had a chance to relieve himself for like 22 years. Truly the most virgin of virgins.
No, because he's able to suck his own dick, though, so.
Oh my god.
I mean, we've established that. Lonely, lonely.
Oh, man. Lonely, lonely.
Perfect German suplex.
This will be the last time we'll be seeing this OP for the channel. Dang.
Yeah.
This is an old show. Like,
I know.
They're never gonna.
I know.
Wait. Could they bring back Onizuka and do like a reboot?
That would be amazing.
Like, they totally could, right?
Tease me. Nobody knows what means love, so. Do you know how love song goes on?
その少女は本当に斎藤教諭を刺したと言ったのかね。それ以外に考えられないじゃん。
she didn't actually
君
say
の考えを聞い
it.
ているのではない。斎藤教諭が横山瑞希の自殺を知ったらどうすると思う？
かなり危険な状態だった。
Are they gonna try and kill him?
No
彼には
way.
悪いが一安心。
Wait.
はい。斎藤教諭が証言しない限り、この騒ぎもようやく収束しますね。
So this is how Onizuka is going to solve everything.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
相沢みやびの出頭の件。決議を
Dang.
よろしいですね。
自分の身の振り方しか頭にないなら委員会のバカどもと変わらないじゃない。
Whoa!
Okay.
私はあくまで学園のことを心配してたんだ。
なら教育委員会と戦ってみたら。
それは
理事長。
She's like, sorry, I'm big braining
ケツを
this.
取らないことにします。
Yes.
もし今学園の存続のためだけに事態を収集しようとしたら学園にはびこる問題はなくなりません。
Yeah.
さらに悪化するでしょう。
Yeah.
Yep.
理事長、このままでは。
教頭先生、我々は聖職者です。
聖職者。
時
Whoa.
代が変わり、
Okay.
教育のあり方がどう変わろうとも、それだけは絶対由来ではならない。 我々は石にかじりついてでも
Alright,
聖職者としての自分を貫き通さなければならないんです。
Whoa.
Yeah.
鬼塚先生。
とにかくスクープだって言って待ってくれりゃいいんだ。あとはこっちです。
Oh, Onizuka's pulling something.
Yeah.
最後だからよ。
Kikuchi, the badass. Here we go.
He's hacking their system.
死亡診断書を読むなんて。
Whoa.
よく考えてみりゃなんでこの辺り
Oh, the vice principal. Yeah.
が知らない教科書は学校に置きっぱなしを怒れば生意気な口を聞きひどい時には暴力に訴えおる理事長めまさか本気で委員会に立て続けるじゃ何を言われようとわしのささやかな幸せを邪魔させよう
Ah, here he is. The man of the hour.
あれ冬月ちゃんどうしたんすか。
鬼塚君、何をするつもり？
いやリュウジのやつがね金返してってうるさくてやっぱダメか。俺なんかに貸したらいつ帰ってくるかわかんないし。
行かないでください。
Oh.
冬の月って書いて冬月。いい名前っすよね。冬は空気が乾燥してっから今頃とは比べ物になんないくらい綺麗に見えるんすよ。心配しないでください。いつもの課外授業をするだけですから。
先ほども早く
Poor guy. It'd be really funny if Nao-chan basically was like, do you want me to try and implicate them in like a in any kind of way?
Right.
Use my womanly
お待
charms.
ちしておりました。
Oh. What is this wind?
私は昨日の2つの要求に従う意思はございません。
Ah! From there, he can feel it.
Yeah.
His heart stopping.
彼が生徒のためにいささか同行した行動をしたにしても、それで彼を解雇しようとは思いません。
Nice.
こうしただと
責任を取れとおっしゃるのでしたら、理事長である私が取りましょう。です
Whoa.
相沢みやびを警察に出頭させるつもりはありません。
She's such a
それでは
badass.
明らかにされず、犯人にされかねない。伊藤先生は自殺かもしれないということです。その女生徒と真剣に付き合っていくことを誓っていました。にもかかわらず、
Yeah.
あの審
Yeah.
判会では言ってその関係を否定した。彼は生徒たちからも慕われた本当に熱心な先生。果たして生徒たちに嘘をつくでしょうか。 私は斉藤先生は本気で横山さんを好きだったと考えてます。自らも命を絶とうとしたんじゃないでしょうか。そして彼はなぜあの時嘘をつかなければならなかったんでしょうか。
我々が言わせたと言いたいのか。
どうすんだよ菊池。もう
What's
会議始ま
Yoshikawa
ってんぜ。
doing now?
Yeah.
口を責めることじゃないでしょ。
Maybe he's in contact with Onizuka.
ってっけどよ。
菊池くん、これサイトのホームページみたいなんだ。
Oh.
クラスの生徒たちの相談に答えてるみたいなんだけど。
先生も禁じられた恋をしたことがあります。
だからそれがいかに辛く苦しいものか本当によくわかります。
Okay.
でも先生は思いました。みんなに祝福してもらえるようになること。それが一番に決まってます。
Yeah, this is what he told
だから
them.
先生はそれまで待つことにしました。本当に好きだから。
ですが、あなた方は組織の対面のために2人の人間の、
Oh.
正確には3人の人生を犠牲にしたので
Yep.
す。
Yep.
くだらんな。何の証拠もないくせに。教頭。
Oh.
どうした今時の生徒なんか教師に対する礼儀などまるで持ち合わせていない。
Oh man, I did not expect
気
this.
に入らないことがあれば突然切れる。この生徒が腹の不登校。
They're mentioning all the things he talked about.
Yeah.
我々や君たちに黙れと言っとるんだ。
Yeah! Vice principal!
生徒たちを侮辱する発言を私は許さない。教育委員会という組織を守るために斉藤先生を追い詰めてしまったのだとしたら、あなた方の方が犯罪者じゃないですか。少なくともあなた方に教育を受けた必要は一切ない。
教頭先生。
Wow!
そうでしょう。そのせいで横山瑞希は結果的に自殺してしまったんですから、話にならんのはそっちだ。学園も教育委員会も確かに組織ですよ。しかしその組織は誰のためにあるんです？あなた方や我々教師のためにあるのではなく、
Indeed! This is so beautiful! This is
生徒のために
amazing!
存在するのです。教育の現場がどんなに荒廃しようと我々はそこから目を背けてはならない。
Oh,
That was amazing.
that was beautiful.
Now Onizuka's gonna ruin it.
Yes, of course. Of course, that's how he enters.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
あんまり怒鳴るとハゲが進みますよ。
Aww. Does care.
Yeah. I can make one phone
よし
call.
頼むわ。
Oh. Oh. Oh, this
here
is
we go.
amazing.
It's very close to it. Oh, shoot.
委員会が問題発覚を恐れて嘘の証言をさせていたんですか
Now he could still just deny it.
Yeah, yeah. But just the attention being put on them.
Right, right, right.
This is awesome.
Oh wow, this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
怪盗を刺したのは生徒じゃねえ。
But
刺
me.
したのはこの
Yeah,
鬼塚
yeah.
武士22歳だ。この俺。
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. Wow.
これが凶器のナイフ。ガルが。
Oh.
あいつとうとうやっちまったが。
Oh.
Yeah.
Take me, Onizuka.
鬼塚
Oh.
鬼塚
The vice principal,
Yeah.
even.
おい斉藤教諭の意識が戻ったぞ病院だ病院行けどうなってるんだ
Oh, dang. The truth's just gonna out itself.
本気で横山を守ろうとしていた
グレートだぜ。
Ah. Nice. Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
助けてくれたの
あ、何の話だ。
Wow. Oh.
ごめんなさい
Oh.
ごめんなさい
Yeah, that track.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did it. He did it. Oh.
Yeah.
Ah. And he won't be in that prison more than like, you know,
Yeah.
24 to 48 hours.
使ってわけにはいかないだろ
What? Wait. What? Two months later, oh my gosh.
You know, Onizuka parachute drops.
何の連絡もしてきてないみたいね。
どこで何をしてるんだ
Oh my gosh.
大丈夫。
Oh.
あなたがここにいる限り彼は帰ってくるわ。
Oh. Oh my gosh. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bringing back the original OP.
yeah. Yep.
Oh man.
Oh. So Saito didn't try to stab himself
No,
because
but-
Aizawa did try to stab him.
Well, yeah, I think what it was is that is that he probably basically like stumbled or something. He got his hands on it and then
But still,
fell over.
Onizuka. Oh wait.
No.
Haha!
Wait. Because why not? Because why not?
Wow. Crash into the rolling morning flash. I'm in the coolest driver's high.
Wow. Wow.
In
Going to California?
So he fled the country?
Yeah, I guess.
What?
アイアムグレートティーチャー鬼塚22 years old よろしく
Yes.
That's amazing.
That is wonderful.
That is the best go read the manga ever.
Yep.
Would you like to see him in California?
Wow.
Oh my god.
Wow.
What an ending!
This was so good.
It's so perfect.
And, oh man,
they hit all the right notes with it.
Yep.
Because it was the perfect level of silliness and over the top craziness.
Rule
of cool.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Onizuka having his moment where he saves a student one final time before he has to leave.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that there was no easy answer with Saito being awake with regards to saving Aizawa, because Aizawa still came in there with the intent to harm.
Right. Yeah.
And if they, at the very least, put her in jail just for that, not even not even for attempted murder, just for attempted assault or something like that, it would ruin her life probably. She's old enough probably that they would put her in a legit, jail, prison, I don't know, what have you. Oh wait, no, maybe not, maybe not.
But either way,
I don't know how things in Japan work.
It's something that Onizuka didn't want her to have to go through.
Yep. So he does it for her. He
then
escapes, flees
the country,
somehow.
So that's why he asked to borrow money from Fuyutsuki, and then he's like, don't worry about it, because. Wow. And the thing is, okay, here's the thing. It was the perfect way to resolve Aizawa's arc and everything.
Right.
And because it's hey, no, I care about my students. I'll take the fall for you. Good old fashioned, gangster resolution to something. And the idea that he then flees the country and goes to another school, it's Onizuka's still doing this, right?
Right.
So it makes it the perfect point to end it, not just from Aizawa's arc, but also the idea that this feels like the end of a JoJo part or a Doctor Who, season or something like that, where the story continues. And if you wanted to read the manga, you could, and you'd get to know all these new characters, right?
Sure.
In this new location,
assuming the manga continues past this point.
Yeah.
I think it would.
I'm pretty sure someone said that, when they were giving us the Onizuka manga, that this volume is where the anime goes up to or something like that. But But then you could basically have each one be a different place, and it ends in the way that it kind of has to end eventually, right? With Onizuka getting in trouble, but then he goes somewhere else, right? And he helps more kids. It's
I love it.
That's
the great
so
teacher,
wonderful.
meaning the legendary, told about in whispers.
Right, exactly. Of
the
just
teacher
the legend of, did you hear about Onizuka? He was our homeroom teacher for only a year before, he got into legal trouble and fled the country again.
I love that. Wow, it's got that sweet kind of sappy, happy ending to it. He saved everyone that needed to be saved at the school.
Yep.
And this is something that's kind of makes me kind of emotional. Is that when you think about all these kids and stuff, right? When we first get introduced to the school, there was kind of this idea that the class was a horrible class. It was the class, 3-4, they're so unruly. When we then get to meet the class, we then realize that there are different people with their different types of unruliness. Right. There are different parts of them that make them difficult to work with.
Right.
But just the fact that over these 43 episodes, Onizuka systematically targeted every single one that needed this help and won them over.
Yeah.
And didn't just win them over like he did with Kunio or Kikuchi.
Yeah.
But he saved people like Yoshikawa.
Yep.
Like Aizawa here.
Yeah.
And that's so good because one of the things I think this show has right underneath the surface that's not really hard to see, but it's there, is some really good commentary on the importance of not just education, but the importance of being a good influence, of being a helpful, positive connection as an adult towards growing and developing young kids, because these are kids.
Right.
And the whole speech with the vice principal at the end was
so good,
so poignant and perfect.
That was absolutely wonderful. It was because here's the thing. I knew Onizuka was doing
the whole thing together.
Right, exactly. Onizuka, I knew he was going to do something, and I figured he was probably going to take the fall and basically say, "I did it." Right.
Yeah, I think we predicted that about 4 episodes ago.
I just wasn't sure if he was actually going to, for a second. I was wondering if he was actually going to stab the guy that Aizawa was after. but the whole thing with the vice principal. It was the cherry on top in that it was it was in some ways the most outlandish thing that happened, because the vice principal, right? Because, if you have this whole idea of Onizuka always wins, right? The vice principal was the one that was constantly against Onizuka, and it was so much so it was comical, right? With Onizuka wrecking his cresta again and again and again, and all of the stuff that happened, and I feel like that's it's important that he ended up having that speech, because it was Onizuka also reminding him of his duty as a teacher, right?
And also the chairwoman,
right? Exactly. Him. Yep. It was
her words,
right? He echoed her words, and a lot of this I feel like was Onizuka, helping give life, right? It was the perfect German suplex, right? That the chairwoman needed, and so much so that even the vice principal is now like, no, this is important, right? These kids matter. Like, even though I was just, talking bad about them and saying all the same stuff you were, it's like, no, that's wrong. Like these kids are people, right? We need to take care of them.
He woke up from his drunken stupor and realized
exactly
where his role fits into all this.
Yep, which was just wonderful.
Because the thing that this show started on very, very well was we had, like the vice principal, we had this antagonistic relationship from the teachers towards the students and from the students towards the teachers.
Yeah.
And the chairwoman realized this, but she didn't have the ability to do anything about it because she had already been written into the we're antagonistic towards you type thing, and maybe she didn't have the energy or the stamina to push through with that. She had a lot of other things she was dealing with,
Yeah.
Like running the whole place.
Right.
So then when Onizuka shows up and he basically is that perfect German suplex, she realizes, wait a minute. Why are we teachers? Like, this is something that I think this is the part of the show that I feel like is the right underneath the surface part that really needs to be discussed, because it's not just about the students and how they are people that need good teachers.
Right.
But what is a good teacher? Because I think they talked about here with the whole thing of the Board of Education, like, why are we teachers? But what are the qualities of a good teacher?
Sure.
And I think that what the vice principal had in his speech is that we are basically representatives of an organization that is primarily there for the students.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really crazy to think about. Like, if you think about how that needed to be said here, I would wonder, even in our kind of education system in general, how much we need to be, reminded not just that the organization is for the students, but that if it's for the students, everything else has to end up correlating back to that. This is for the students.
It keeps things simple.
Right. But we talked about in a lot of things, or they talked about in the show, a lot of things regarding how teachers just have it really rough. There's not a lot of things that go well for teachers. A lot of teachers are working additional jobs on the side in order to make money and stuff like that.
Overworked and underpaid.
Yes, it's
and underappreciated.
And underappreciated for sure. There's not a lot of, basically positive association with the idea of education being this thing where we invest a lot of emotional, physical, even financial energy into the whole thing. So then we end up in these kind of situations where it's a lose-lose. Both the teachers and the students are powerless to change it. You need a wrecking ball. You need a big sledgehammer wielding, weirdo to come in here and just break through these walls and make things happen. I love that while Onizuka as a show, the Great Teacher Onizuka as a show, is completely nonsensical, crazy, over-the-top, rule of cool, hilarity, comedy, and all that. There's this very real thing going on in here about, like, hey, y'all, wake up. Like, if you want to make the education system and the whole thing better, remind yourself as to why you're here, from the bottom down to the, the homeroom teachers to the Board of Education at the very top.
Yeah.
We're here for the students, which means that when you make, changes that hurt the overall, system of the organization, it doesn't just stop right there. It ends up trickling all the way back to the students.
And the reverse is true as well.
And the reverse is 100% true as well.
Like, the impact that you have on a single individual can do more than you can possibly imagine. right? Not just from the standpoint of what they do themselves, but the impact that they have on other people and things like that. It becomes a self-perpetuating process for good or bad, right? And in the same way that like Onizuka was one person, right?
Yeah.
Onizuka got motivated to do this at some point, probably by someone or a group of people, you know. Maybe it was from a bad experience, maybe it was from a good one.
Well, we know what his motivation was.
Right. But the idea is that there was a point where that started, right? I would not at all be surprised if several of the people from class 3-4 go on to basically being like, I want to be just like Onizuka. You know, like when it comes time for that, you know, career path whole thing, it's like, I'm going to be a teacher.
The Yoshikawa.
You know, Yep.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at all if Yoshikawa ended up becoming a teacher.
Even in some ways, I think like Kanzaki. You think about... No, I'm serious.
Kanzaki would be an amazing teacher.
Kanzaki would be a terrifyingly amazing teacher. Like in a lot of ways, it would be something where, you know, she would be, you know, maybe struggling a bit to learn how to communicate, you know, these kinds of things with people.
Sure.
But I really am excited in a lot of ways to go into the manga with this.
I know.
Series, because
the only thing that I am like maybe a bit trepidatious about is that I want to see these kids more. Like I don't want their story to be over. Like I know that it's about Onizuka and stuff, and he's going to go to this different school. Unless, of course, that was like I don't think that was an anime original.
The first episode was foreshadowing for this all along.
No, I know. Yeah, exactly. Hence, you know, 43 episodes makes sense, right? You know? Given, and there's probably a bunch of airing stuff too with that, but but I want to see a point where Onizuka basically comes back, like maybe like then there's an arc where he's in California, you know, and he's teaching the students over there, and it's great and it's wonderful, and then there's a point where he comes back, right? And maybe he has to avoid getting and maybe he has to avoid getting arrested again.
He gets smuggled in like across the Pacific Ocean. Like how would that even work?
I don't know. He's got contacts.
He hops islands like all the way.
Exactly. But then seeing where class 3-4 is at, you know.
Sure.
Now granted, they're
in high school maybe.
Then it's they're in high school, so you know.
That'd be like great suspicious janitor Onizuka. Couldn't you see it? Just him being like, yo. And then like freaking like Kunio just is like,
oh shit. He sees that Onizuka has a ring on his finger. He's like, you can wait. He goes in immediately like, Mom? Okay, good. All right. Whew. Okay.
That's still how paranoid he is with his mom complex. Okay. The things that they hit in this episode that were just really good was not just the buildup of showcasing that Onizuka does have a plan, but the way they tied in specifically how they had Tomoko and her manager being their tie-in to the media, being something that was essentially a tool in Onizuka's toolbox that he could you could apply to this situation, so it didn't completely come out of left field or right field or whatever. But then you have also all the things regarding the scandal of the teacher, Saito, having a relationship with a student, which is interesting to have that be the thing that ends up killing the Board of Education, the way they handled a scandal of something
their own mistakes coming back to bite them kind of a thing.
Right, but also it being the thing that Onizuka jokingly started this whole thing about. Basically that he was like, there's a lot of
14-year-old bride.
Oh my god! You know, just him and his
bonsai
creepiness and stuff. But that being something maybe where, maybe on some level where the whole blind spot of the Board of Education's thing was that there are going to be these little things in their dealing with young kids and stuff like that where things get messy and stuff, and they need to be maybe a little bit more vulnerable with like letting these scandals come to light so that people can become more educated and realize that that kind of stuff, that's not really okay. Like you need to have proper boundaries and stuff set up there. But I just find it perfect in the kind of the poetic justice thing that their scandal was that and it was their undoing, and it wasn't even that the scandal was their undoing, but it was how they handled the scandal.
Right, exactly. Because if anything, the biggest lesson that Onizuka, I feel like, teaches everybody is that there's no problem that's too problematic.
Right? Yes.
Inherently, it's all about how you handle it.
Yep.
Both with your own problems and problems that you have to sort of deal with from other people. And that's where they failed. But maybe Onizuka taught the Board of Education of Japan a little bit of a lesson, maybe.
Hey, what if the vice principal ends up getting promoted?
I think the vice principal would end up maybe being the chairman of this school, and then the chairwoman would end up being the on the Board of Education. I think the vice principal has enough stress in his life as is.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think
that was a rather rousing speech.
I think that speech was really impactful, but I also think a lot of his happiness comes from proving himself to his wife and daughter that he's still got a lot of stuff that he can do.
Sure.
Because they treated him when he was at home as kind of like
you're
useless,
you're dirt, you're impotent, yeah,
exactly. So I don't know, maybe that would be a fun thing.
That would be cool. Hey, and then he could have his Cresta cash for, or debt free,
Yeah.
Boom.
I mean, he has to have his insurance.
Right, and they might be like, okay, cool, it's 100,000 yen a month, or something.
I swear, he fled the country. We have no idea where he is. He can't harm my Cresta anymore. You don't have to make things so expensive. They're like, aren't you Board of Education member? You can afford it. And he's like, well, I mean, yes, but I was hoping that some of this could go down to the bottom line
for my daughter's college.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
this is fantastic.
This show, it's so wonderful. I'm thinking about all the people that I want to recommend this to, and then at the same time, it's like, okay, the whole thing of like, all right, the whole starting off the 14-year-old bride fan service, and just Onizuka generally being a horny pervy dude, but there's so much wholesomeness to it. Like it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that the first episode is one that gets you introduced to the idea of what type of show this is.
Right. It's a perfect microcosm of the show in entirety.
And if they're not interested in it after the first episode, then they're not really interested in it at all.
Yeah.
Because in some ways, there are weak sections of Onizuka.
Yes. Because of the episodic nature of it, like the Fuyutsuki, tanning thing and all that stuff. That, that could have been better.
Yeah, and it's an arc-based, like a mini arc-based kind of story as well as being episodic. So you could be going through a cool arc and then be like, well, I like this stuff, but I wasn't really into this character, this student, so it's like, oh. Okay.
Right, not every arc is the Uehara and Yoshikawa, and that whole thing. Like,
yeah, that was amazing.
Whew.
Now that we finished this one, I almost feel like we should give kind of a proper shill to GTO, like to the anime fandom verse for GTO, and I don't think that that's really a surprise that people are going to be like, wait, GTO is a good show. It's probably more like, oh, that's a good show, but it's kind of old for me.
Right. I feel like it could also be something where people just don't know about it because it's so old.
Right. But I think based on what I've heard about the dub.
Yeah, because the dub is
Steve Bloom.
It's Steve Bloom as Onizuka and Wendy Lee as Fuyutsuki. Yeah.
So if we maybe recommended it to some more normie people that are like not that much into anime in general, and show them the dub, then maybe that'll be a way that get a little bit more
and
attention
it's an excuse
put on this show.
to rewatch the first episode.
It is,
because like that first episode is such a good first episode. Like, oh my god.
And the little furry costume was a bit.
But that just goes to show how kind of like goofy the show will get.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
But the fact that they brought back the first OP for Onizuka doing his motorcycle ride down Route 66, picking up a hot blonde that needed to get back to her family, it's like that was perfect.
Yeah.
That was perfect. Like, it was perfect before the hot blonde showed up, And then the hot blonde's there, and Onizuka's just like, wow.
This is amazing.
Wow.
It was amazing. I definitely understand why, as far as comedy goes, a lot of shows have tried to copy.
Right, like
Fumofu. Like rip off this. Yeah, Fumofu is a great example.
Like right down to the vice principal and the chairwoman that, is making sure that this rowdy person stays at the school and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I would like to see more. I would like to see more comedy like this, and yet there was something also about this show where you could tell that while it was a show that was kind of a product of its time, there's some actually transcendent things regarding the time that we're in now.
Sure.
That this kind of applies to.
Oh,
in a lot of ways, I would say that Onizuka's character is one that would be maybe a bit too offensive in certain circles, nowadays.
Sure. Definitely.
But the thing is I think that on some level that's important to have on some level.
Right, because it's showing that it can come from anywhere. It's not just the people that you expect to be the prim and proper students and this person will be a good teacher and all that stuff.
Right. The idea of someone being a flawed but helpful person.
Right.
And I think that that's something that's really good to have, especially in the whole area of education, because there is a lot of stuff that I would say that maybe, let's be realistic here, Onizuka would never make it as a teacher in today's world, just in general.
No.
Like, he would be put in jail pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
And a lot of that is probably just anime-ness,
and his pervy nature and stuff like that.
Right, exactly.
But there are a lot of things I feel like that we do as a society for the kids that aren't really for the kids.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Common Core math is one of them.
Anyways, yeah. We do we do a lot of things, though, as a society and kind of hold the kids up there as this banner standard. But I almost wonder how much of it is more just kind of washing our hands a bit of having to be involved with the rough and tough and just complicated nature of having kids that are growing up.
Like, that was something that they definitely brought up as a motif
theme.
Theme a lot in this show, with how often the parents just had no idea what the kids were up to and really didn't do their part in making sure that these kids were functioning human beings.
And that's not something that's, anything new.
Right, exactly.
That's just a thing of just, it's tough being a parent, just as tough as it is being a teacher in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But what I liked here, in a lot of ways, when there was a time when Onizuka would meet a parent, or he would meet someone in the person's life, the student's life, that was kind of close to them. Like, I'm thinking like Kunyo's mom or something like that. There'd be that aspect of Onizuka that was the ridiculous, pervy guy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then there was also the parts of where he cared about the growth of the students to the point of where it was not comfortable for them, the students, and not in a way that broached any kind of boundaries of who they were.
But they were just like, "What are you doing?" Like.
Yeah.
They were suspicious.
And yet, like, Kunyo's mom, for instance, would praise Onizuka for those little moments there and say, like, no, that's actually an example of
that's a real man.
That's a real guy right there. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that's a part of this show that goes beyond just the old school kind of style of things or presentation of things. This is a good story. There's a good story and a lot of meat to it that goes beyond the silly, ridiculous comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Which is very entertaining,
Yeah.
But,
but now it's done.
Now it's done.
Oh, boy.
And...
it's so sad.
Yeah, I'm going to miss it.
Like, every time...
I'm going to rewatch it, though, in the dub.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to rewatch it, though, in the dub, for sure.
But, like, every time a show ends, especially when it's been one that we've been watching for a long time, it almost feels like the death of a friend or something. Or, like, a friend that's, like, moving far away.
We had to take Onizuka out to the pasture and pat its head and give it something.
I mean, that is how he wants to go out.
Give it
someone touching his head.
Yeah. Give him something to nibble on, and birds erupt from the top of the trees as a shot shows the blue sky. Yeah. Great teacher Onizuka, y'all.
Yep.
Thank you so much for recommending this show to us. This is a show that I think a lot of people weren't really expecting us to even be willing to react to because it's so old. But this is part of the thing I think specifically about a lot of these anime that we haven't seen is we've seen a lot of the mainstream, more recent anime. Like we've seen the Steins Gates, we've seen the Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhoods. We want you all to recommend to us more of these types of shows that are hidden gems that while they might be popular in the anime community, the general like out there community that's getting into anime for the first time, they have no idea about Great Teacher Onizuka.
Yep, that's sad.
Never heard of it. You know?
Yeah.
So thank you all for recommending these shows to us, and we have a new show to announce for you all, a much newer show, although a show that we've heard has fantastic comedy and some interesting wholesomeness to it as well. This is Hinamatsuri.
That's right.
Yes, we'll be reacting to that every Thursday from here on out. So the first episode is now live right on Patreon. So if you want to go check that out right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. Provided there's no copyright shenanigans, you can also get full-length reactions there, and any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us about anime or just stories in general or whatever, and if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.